everyone. Welcome. Welcome to Get Out of Rap TV, GOW TV. It's the 12th of March. I hope you are all good. I need to start with just thanking my partners. That's Evaluagent, DDC, OS, and OneCom, plus also the forum. I wouldn't be able to do this without them. So thank you all very much. We've got a great show lined up for you today. In the green room, just still naked, is Chris. He will be joining us to do GOW X. Here we go. Oh, look, Chris. Julie's here. Hi, Julie. Please do remember, if your comments are not showing, I'm not ignoring you. Hello, Julie. She's so lovely. I'm not ignoring you. It's something to do with the connection between LinkedIn and StreamYard. So you just need to hit refresh. I want to kick us off. Let's all. Oh, look. Rob is here. The lovely Rob. Now smashing it at Evaluagent. It's great to see you, mate. It's good to have you back. So let's kick off with. We can all, oh, look, Peter's here. The whole gang's coming. Lovely, Peter. The biggest brain inside the loveliest head. So let's, oh, Uros is here as well. Hello, my friend. And Scott. Yes, Scott. How are you, mate? Hope you are good. Scott in that picture, by the way, is wearing a Get Out of Rap hoodie. Just want to mention that. Yes, Adam. Hello, mate. How are you? Bring Chris on. Bring Chris on. No, he's bring Chris on. Bring Chris on. Okay, come on then. Oh, and Danny's here. Danny is here. Let's bring him on. We're doing things a bit different today. Look, everybody.
Caught me unawares there. Hi, everybody. Morning.
Look, you asked for it. I deliver. It's the one and the only Chris, a legend in his own lunchtime. Now, we were joking yesterday that we're going to be doing this show naked.
Let's not get into that.
Okay, so Chris is now going to fly with me. Here we go. Adam, you're good. Thank you. Leadership, the promises of giants. Great. Danny's kicking us off. So we're all becoming a lovely community here. And I thought we could use the comments as a way of getting all of our book recommendations in. Danny's kicking us off with 2. The Culture Code. I've got that one. Yes. Mark, hello, mate. Now, Mark, great ops manager, looking for a new role. So if you're not connected, please do connect with Mark. Look, you've got some fans coming on, Chris. Have you prepared all of this? Hey, Chris, couldn't miss this one.
Well, you know, they know where the good stuff is. They know where the good stuff is. That's all that I'm saying.
Paul is, can I have a signed autograph, Chris?
I'll tell you, when I see him in April, I will sign his buttocks.
Alan is here. Hello, Alan. How you doing? Scott is coming up with the things you can see only when you slow down. Oh, I love the sound of that. I love the sound of that. Uros is taking us to the classics, Don Quixote. I love a man that charges at windmills. So that is a great. Now, Chris, you had yours to show, didn't you? So is it still to hand?
Wait there. Don't want to give everybody a lappy. Give us a minute. Sorry. Do that way.
So let's get our book recommendations in. Chris is going for The Effortless Experience. I love that. Here is mine, The Best Team Ever. And I thought we can have Urus is keeping us on the classics. Tom Sawyer. Alan has gone by Radical Candor. Yes. Love a bit of radical candor. Chris is a man that lives by that.
100%.
Rob is, if I could tell you just one thing, we can come back to these comments afterwards and just stick them in our Amazon wish list. Peter, The Illusion of Choice. I love it. And do feel free to just put in a little explain it as to what they are. Yeah, I've got that one. Danny, social awareness, natives, Akala, love him. He's great. Oh, Peter, When Your Life Depends on It by Brad Borkan. And Peter again. Chatter, Ethan Cross. Oh, here he is, the legend himself, Morris. Talk by Professor Liz Stoker. Yeah, I absolutely love that one, Morris. It's good to see you. Great to chat the other day. And also Black Box Thinking as well by Matthew Syed. I've seen him speak a few times, Matthew Syed. He's a fascinating guy. Used to be Britain's #1 table tennis player, believe it or not, and tells a great story about when he went to the Olympics, which led him on to doing this kind of thing. So thank you for those. And Talk is great. If you want to, Talk is the best book probably for our industry, I would say. Daily Stoic, Ryan Holiday. Yeah, he's great. Follow him on TikTok. I love Stoicism. Julie has The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. Brilliant. Thanks, Julie. Mark's coming up with 80/20 Manager by, be careful how we say this one, Kosh. So
I can't comment while I'm sat here, but the other one that I got a lot from, especially through, sounds really ages ago now, lockdown. Me and Martin were talking about lockdown before, but the one book that I read numerous times and then the follow-up, so the Subtle Art, the Mark Manson books, the Subtle Art of Not Giving a, and everything is, I'm not going to swear because you'll get banned from LinkedIn, but go and check them out. In terms of mindset, it's one of the best books I've ever read and made me take a whole new kind of mindset into the way I go about life. So I recommend them highly.
Yeah, that the first one, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a You Know What. I agree with you. It changed my thinking, and it's the kind of book that I'd recommend for youngsters as well. Oh, look, the lovely Kerry is here. Good work on getting to the gym the other day, Kerry, as well. Love it. Rob has also gone for 8,000 hours. Benjamin Todd, if you're looking for a change in career. Oh, that sounds interesting. These are all great. We can come back and go mental on Amazon.
Amazon sales have gone through the roof.
But this is exactly what we're talking about. We can all, because the majority of these, I think I haven't read. So, Making It So by Patrick Stewart. Yes, Make It So. Makes you laugh, cry, and reflect. Absolutely brilliant. Oh, I love that. What a man as well. Thank you, Alan. Hello, who I don't want to guess. We need Danny IT support to help you with who that is, because it doesn't show up, and it's something to do with your settings on LinkedIn. So it will show on LinkedIn, but it won't show on StreamYard. And I don't want to guess, but good morning to you. Now, Chris is here not just because he's a legend, a lovely man, and he's like one of those guys in lockdown talking. We had a great chat about lockdown this morning, but in lockdown when people would go around Zooms just interjecting into council Zoom meetings and things like that. That's what Chris does.
I was quite happy to sit in the background until you wanted me. I was reading the form for Cheltenham today, and then all of a sudden you've thrown me into it. And I wasn't prepared.
It's what the people want. It's what the people want. It's Tracy. Tracy, who want to get out a rap hoodie. Tracy, it's good to see you. The practice of I saw this the other day, Danny. I think you shared this on the team leader community. And it's nice to have a word that applies to me now, which is the practice of letting books accumulate in your home without you reading them. So I've actually got some down here. The bookcase is full. Hey Dan, how you doing? Morning, folks. Good to see you both, Martin and Chris. We used to do this in lockdown as well. Just go and do a podcast, go and chat, shave our heads. Well, no, you did. I can't. Morris is coming. The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg is one of the best books on experience design. Oh, that's good. That's a good one. because whilst we may not be at the Savoy, we are all in the business of customer experience. Meow. These are great. Thank you all very much. Keep them coming. Please do. If you think of one later on, please just share it in the comments, even if it's out of context of what we're talking about. I might as well just keep you here, Chris.
It's up to you. I'm here now.
Look, there was a chant and everything. Oh, look, it's up. Currently enjoying supply chain management for dummies. So for those of you that don't know, the legend that is Dan from Nespresso took a leap of faith. Nespresso came calling and said, you know everything about contact centers. We'd now like you to run all of our logistics. So Dan is now the person that's responsible for making sure my coffee comes, which it does, Dan. You're doing a great job. Maybe you could start a book sharing club. That's not a bad idea. I'm not sure I'm the best person, though, Aman, to be the one responsible for the organization of it, unless you don't mind like a mystery box type affair. You might end up with a Tottenham shirt in one and a teacup in the other, and occasionally a book. But I do think us keeping a track of the books that we like is a great idea. Anyway, let's get on, because Chris is itching to take his clothes off. He
Stop it.
He has promised for his GOWX to do it in the buff, just to assail your senses. It's going to work your brain, your eyes, everything. Here we go. Morris has one more. The 10 Principles of Great Customer Experience by Matt Watkinson is part of my training courses. Oh, that's a good one. There's already book sharing clubs, libraries. Use them or lose them. That's true. I haven't been to Didcot's library, and I will as a result of this. Now, I just want to point you in the direction and check if anyone is coming to the people that do the Contact Center Expo in November are putting on next Customer Experience Summit in London on Thursday. Forgive the aesthetics. This is definitely not theirs. I just copied and pasted all of the agenda from their website to give you a look of the day. I think tickets are still available. You have to pay for this one, but you can see some of the people that are going to be there. We're kicking off with Katie Stabler. The reason I'm sharing it is you'll see that I'm kind of hosting it with Dan Juniper, a lovely chap from the Call and Contact Center Expo. After Katie kicking us off, the state of CX for 2024, we've got the lovely Gary Gormley, is going to be talking about issues impacting customer experience strategy and practical ways to overcome these. Got the future of frontline CX teams. Then if you jump over to the other side, entire customer journey with AI, balancing AI, so a bit of an AI bit there. Then Sandra Thompson is doing from transactions to relationships, and then she is hosting a panel. I'm just going to be stood around on the sidelines at this point. Then Sarah Williams and the lovely people of Westminster City Council are going to be bringing to life a case study. And Peter Dunn, you may have real interest in that. I know you've been working with them closely. After that, then we have Jimmy from the Modular Analytics Company, or Mojo. I thought they're Mojo, aren't they? Yeah. And then James Thorpe, the Chief Experience Officer from Ipsos. Danny says, I can't make this one. I'm supporting a school careers event. Brilliant. Well done, you, sir. I will be giving a talk at the local school very soon. And I saw something on LinkedIn, actually, where someone had shared a slide. This was this morning. Someone had shared a slide, and it looked brilliant. There were loads of school kids. And on the slide, it said, careers you can have if you join a contact center. and it just listed them all, like IT, finance, training, customer service, and it was brilliant. All the children certainly looked like they were interested. I'm chained to my desk, furiously trying to sort everything pre-jury duty from Monday. Oh, Kerry, you might have made a boo-boo because I think it's Chris in court on Monday, so you know each other. You might be.
Shh, stop
you
telling
might.
everyone.
You might be excluded from jury duty because you know one of the defendants.
I don't know why I put up with this. I really don't.
Listen, I'm gonna win back your favor in a few seconds. Just you wait. Ah, lovely Spencer's here. Hi, Spencer. Have I missed the boat? No, we're still very much on, Spencer, my friend. Don't you worry. We've held the boat for you. It's a pedalo, and Chris is naked in it, but it's still a boat. Okay. Here we look. Kerry says, "I wondered why you wanted to meet me last week." No, Chris. So Chris is here because he's going to deliver GOWX. Chris, we all love Chris. He is genuinely a legend of the industry. What I'm going to do, I'm going to hand over controls to you. Do you want me still here or not, Chris? It's up to you.
I do need you at one point, but if you want to disappear, you can. And then
I'll stay. I promise not to interject, and I think, mate, you're going to love the little thing I've done for you for your
it's
intro.
Going to be an awful. Unbelievable. Thank you, Martin. Right, bring me slides up. If you're going to do something in the background, do something useful. So welcome everybody. Thanks for giving me. I've got 10 minutes, so this will be difficult to get through, I think. So I've put quite a bit together. Martin, my slides still aren't showing, by the way. I don't know what you're doing.
For a second.
I think Martin's disappeared. You've disappeared, Martin.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. There you are.
I think the video just completely crashed. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Are we back?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Okay. I just want to I worry about your obsession with seeing Chris naked. And 2 for 1 on Chris picks today. We love a Chris pick. He's gone for a vape.
I mean, outstanding. Thanks for that great introduction. Ruined then by you killing your complete bandwidth in your office. So then
I will add the slides in. Here we go. We're back.
Let's get going. There we go. Thank you. Thank you, Martin. Right, so thanks everybody. I've got 10 minutes. And I just want to talk to you about learning. So one of the things that we do at the forum is, we are committed to raising standards, whether that's within the operation, whether it's within your team, whether it's within an individual. One of the fundamentals that we work on is trying to make learning accessible and make learning as easy as we can. You as individuals and teams have to own your learning, but fundamentally, we want to try and make it easier. And because we collaborate, things like this, Martin's, a true pioneer of kind of that community spirit. It helps us to understand the challenges that we are going through within our industry, whether it's the enduring problems that we face, whether it's new, current or emerging trends that we're seeing, or some unique or outlying issues. The purpose of us working together collaboratively allows us to think of how we can solutionize, how we can solve, and how we can improve ourselves, improve our organization, improve our center. It's very easy, I think, for individuals to fall into those routine patterns. So those things that you do, those daily habits, those standard procedures, taking kind of that assurance from the day to day without challenging yourself from moving away from what you've always done. But in today's world, the demands are different, So we need to approach them differently to be able to cope with them, be prepared for them, and deal with them in the way that is going to make us better professionals. So this year's theme that we are talking about is around shaping the future. Fundamentally, we look at it about being prepared for whatever is going to happen next and being ready for anything. So this important mindset for us is start to keep thinking about being open to learning, to keep improving, to keep adapting, to make adjustments as you go through your day-to-day, to make you more competent in your role, to make you more kind of flexible within your role and being able to react to the potential scenarios that might play out. We're in a different era now. That was, kind of, we talked around COVID and lockdown, but that's what this era started. COVID started this era of contact centres and where we look at things. And then following that, the broader global pandemic, the political and financial uncertainty that we're going through, the world has never been more uncertain and more volatile. And for us within this industry, we need to remember that we can make a difference. We can make a difference to ourselves. We can build trust. We can influence others, and we can help shape thinking, not just within our teams, but in the broader industry by doing things like this, sharing our thoughts, sharing our comments. We need to be excited about what's coming. I think we often get fearful of what the future can bring. We can be uncertain about what it can bring. But if we're excited by it and we prepare for it, we can really make a difference to how we go about our day-to-day world. So if you think about the future, we talked about it can be exciting, can be scary place. The opportunity for us to achieve as professionals, the uncertainty, the worry of not knowing what's going to happen and not being in control can really dampen where we kind of want to see ourselves in the future. We often see people think about the future as a real future state. So thinking about the 10 years in the time, 50 years in the time, even 100 years in the future. But in reality, it's any time that's still to come. So from the next minute and beyond. So we need to be prepared to deal with that. So if we make a decision or not make a decision, we've made a decision. The intent for us to do anything or not do anything is a plan. So we've got to be really mindful of the decisions and actions we take as we go forward. But we must take that responsibility then to how we respond to the situations that present themselves while we're going about our day-to-day roles. If we leave our minds open to learning, we become, more focused, more agile, and more prepared to deal with that future state. We often see it with people where it's really common for us to overestimate what we can do in 12 months. You see these 12 months plan and people go, I'm going to do all this in a year. And you go, you might struggle. And then we typically underestimate what we can achieve in 3, 4, 5, 10 years time. So really pace that learning, pace that change to make it, more successful for you. When we think about learning, this is where we really start to think about how we can change the way the industry can influence those around us. So, we want people to be better learners. We've talked about the books before, really good, right? Reading's a good habit to get into. I was speaking to Martin. I read every morning. I read every morning with morning coffee. I set myself a goal. I'll read a chapter a day, at least a chapter a day, depending on time. But I always have that time. Go out for a walk, get back in, have a coffee, read a chapter of a book. And I build that kind of momentum and that rhythm. But if we're going to build other people up to be better learners, there's things that we need to do as an industry to allow them to do that. So the mandated learning that we do within our organizations, we need to get better at doing that, because if it's stale and it's boring and it's forced upon and it's these things, really turns people off. What we want people to do is really excited by it. So the mandated stuff, the stuff that we do, the stuff that we need people to know to be able to do their job, we need to make it exciting, relevant. We need to really kind of drive a passion. And if we get that bit right, people will be more inclined then to do more self-directed learning. This is the career I want. This is the pathway I want to take. And if I'm taking that pathway, what do I need to learn to be able to develop my skills and capability to get to that stage in my career? And when they build that passion for learning, they want to get out, they want to join things like this, they want to explore what other people are doing, they want to network with other professionals to understand what's happening. Because when they start getting curious and inquisitive, they start to innovate, They'll start to combine different ways of doing things to drive forward what we're doing. And that takes us to that top of that pyramid that says these are then the groundbreaking, the new ways of doing things that we can get really passionate about as we drive forward. We often talk about this as the unknown unknowns model, the known unknowns model, whichever way you want to do it. But if we just focus on the left side, you know, if we think about it from a learning perspective, there are things that we don't know, right? And that's a good thing. Not everybody knows everything. And if we think that we do, that's we're at our weakest point as a professional. If we think we've got nothing else to learn, we will never get any better in our role. So we've got to start to understand how we can move from being really aware of those blind spots and find them and identify them. And then you can start to move forward on that. So actually, how do we get to that unconsciously competent, that expert flow that allows us to become better as a learner? And we'll talk through if we can take that pathway of going from understanding our blind spot, help us realize where we need to improve, build on our skills and our development, we should start to flow through to being that, you know, competent and capable professional by developing our skills as we go. We often come across barriers. Two of those really comes around mindset, and I position these in slightly different ways, but they're potentially the same thing. You know, we often see limitations. Is there a limit to what we can learn? No is the answer. There isn't never a limit to what you can learn. The only limit you have is yourself, your own mindset limits if you think you can learn or do things differently. And that becomes a real challenge to break through that barrier. Learning should be difficult. It should be hard, because when it's difficult, it means we're actually learning something. If everything's too easy, we're not learning. We might be validating that we already know something, which is equally important. But if we want to stretch ourselves, we need to understand that there's not a limit to there. And we have never had our potential defined. We define what we want to do as an individual, as a professional. You can do it. The challenge we have is that through society, we sometimes have that limitation placed upon us. So we want people to have that unlimited mindset. We want people to have that genuine belief that their ability has no ceiling, that they can learn, they can develop, and they can progress in whichever way they want. But there's a lot of people that sit within that limited mindset. And a lot of that is to do with that they think that their potential's already been defined, and that could have been done at an early age. So if you're working, if you're leading a team, look at your age demographic, look at where they've come from. In a lot of cases, and I have this conversation with my daughter's school all the time, as you can imagine, you know, when we get into arguments like this, it's quite testing. But one of the things that I got really frustrated with is around the GCSE process, that limitation that's put on them at an early age. Say, you're only this good. You're only this good. You will never get above this grade. So I'm not going to teach you anything that's going to be above that. So all you're getting taught is how to pass an exam. You're not being stretched. You're not being taught to think differently. You're not being taught to improve. You're being taught to deal and sit within your limitation to achieve what you need to achieve in terms of their GCSE. And that's driven by a target that the government's setting for schools to do it. So that becomes a real challenge. And when people go through that education system and told they're only as good as that, our job as professionals, as leaders, whatever, is to try to break that cycle, to say, you know what, you can do and be whatever you want. You just need to do it at a different pace, a different timeline, whatever it is, but change your mindset to make sure that you can deliver against it. And hopefully then we can move people away from being fixed in what they can do to actually sharing that growth mindset that allows them to absorb what's going on around them, understanding the learning interventions that are happening every day. Today is a learning moment. On this call, on this web, on this LinkedIn Live, somebody would have learned something. Maybe not from me, you know, I'm not going to be that kind of big-headed about it, but from the books that people are reading, from the comments that are there, people will say things that might resonate with something. And if you identify every opportunity you have throughout the day to learn something or take learning from it, you'll become a better learner going forward. And that's where we need to get people to. Now, learning's really difficult. Unlearning is even more difficult, because when we want to learn something, we need to typically move away from some old stuff that's sitting there. You know, sometimes we've been doing something for so long, we get into an autopilot mode. And when we get into the autopilot mode, when we try to break that habit, change what we do, start doing something differently, unlearning and unpicking the old way can be really difficult. So we need to identify the old way we need to stop. We need to start to practice it, and we need to build new habits. So Martin, I'm going to ask you a question. Just really off the top of your head, how do you tie your shoelaces?
Stretch them out, one loop straight away, back in, twist, loop again, pull.
So you didn't really have to think about that. You kind of do it because unconsciously you will tie your shoelaces your way every day, right? So everybody here will tie their shoelaces in a certain way, right? And that'll be their way of doing it. Have you got shoes on now, Martin? Or are you walking around in flip-flops?
I've just got my socks on.
Oh, that's no good, is it? Right. So everyone that's on this call now, what I want you to do, right? Just think about it. I'm not going to do it, but I want you to untie a shoelace if you've got a shoelace, and I want you to tie it back, but do it in the opposite way that you would normally do it. Right. So if you have to start thinking about that, take the time to do it. Have a practice at some point this morning. Just go actually, and I think what Chris said, untie your shoelaces, tie them in an opposite way. The reason why it's difficult is because we're challenging what we think is the right way of doing something. Now, not saying the way you do it's not right, but this gives an example of learning something in a different way, challenging our thinking, making us think about, actually, do I do it this way? What's left over right? Do I really go that loop around? How do I change that? Because we're so used to doing something, it becomes difficult when we try to do that the opposite way. Many of you are driven in different countries. And again, that's the same experience. When you first get into a car in a different country than your own, when everything's the opposite way around, that first moment, those first few miles, those first junctions you come to, those first few roundabouts where you're going, why is everybody going the wrong way? That's the same sensation you get when you're trying to unlearn something. And if the habits you've got are bad, trying to remove them and put them into a good habit will take time, effort, and a lot of thought. So learning's difficult, unlearning's difficult, and that's because remembering is even more difficult, right? So this is the key bit, right? So Herman Ebbinghaus, right, go read his stuff, but in summary, he kind of did this study of memory, right, and he started to develop this forgetting curve. Fundamentally, what it's saying is that if you watch something once, the science will say you'll forget it by day 6, right? So when it comes to learning, the more we revisit stuff, the more we kind of go back and think about what we've learned. We write down takeaways, we write down our thoughts, our learnings, our development areas. The more we do that, the more we commit it to paper, the more likely we are to remember it and build that into habit. If we do something once, it's not gonna maintain. So we have to develop that space, that pace to enable us to retain the information that we're doing. If we're leaders, if we're people that have got teams now, you need to create the time for your people to learn. And I'm not saying just through coaching sessions. I'm not saying just through one-to-ones. I'm saying fundamentally giving time to have that ability to go and explore, to do that kind of that kind of self-paced learning. To learn new stuff, we have to create the environment that's safe and that enables them to go away and do that by not mandating everything, but giving them the time and the space to be able to retain it. Because everyone will learn at a different speed, everyone will change at a different speed, and we need to give them that space so they can build that habit of learning as they go forward. Now, go back to that first slide or earlier slide. This then, if we start to develop that culture of learning, allows us then to take people from that unconsciously competent to that consciously expert way of working is where we want to go. So think about that. I know it's been a bit over the 10. I've tried to get through it. You have to take responsibility for your own personal and professional development, enable your teams to be able to do the things that they need to do, collaborate with others, collaborate with the industry, speak to each other to help shape your thinking, and for you to use the people around you to shape and refine your plans, because the future is yours to shape. Thank you, Martin. Sorry, I rattled on a bit.
I love that. That was brilliant. So thought-provoking as well. I think, like you said, someone's going to take something away from this, and I couldn't help but think it's not work-related, but it's kind of, hopefully this is an example. I manage a girls' football team. There's me and 3 other coaches. And so we get together, we plan our sessions. And one of the things one of the coaches said is he's getting frustrated with the girls chit-chattering around and and stuff like that. And so as the leader, in inverted commas, I said, right, I've done some research on this, and we've got to devise next week's session with no laps. So there'll be no laps around the pitch and no lines. So if you think about shooting, for example, shooting is normally in a line, one person. And first of all, there was some like, oh, the girls like shooting though. And I said, well, we've got to find a different way. We're going to do no laps, no lines. And they then had to go out and create different training sessions that still gave the girls shooting, but involved all of them at once. Now, the first week we did it, it was a bit chaotic. But then we got back together afterwards and just, right, what went well, what didn't go well, what do we need to do differently with those two kind of, and we purposefully put ourselves into not knowing something. Like, we've never done some of these sessions before. We're now working on, and I love it. And I love what you went through. Let's go through some of the comments. So first of all, we had Morris who said, suggestion, you need to get better at this, should be, you can get better at this.
I think it's a fair point, Morris. 100% fair point. The challenge I have is that people can get better at it, but the mandated learning is what stifles people in their early stage of the career if it's not done in the right way. So we as an industry need to get better at it. We need to get better at that kind of initial learning impact we have on people, because if we don't, we'll never set them up for success.
Richard says, what would be groundbreaking? Great question. Winners and change makers in life define this, and they have the belief they can achieve it. I think of that. I think of you when he's saying that, Chris. And Rachel agrees. Look at that. You hit the target for Rach. Get the guns out. Chris makes so many great points in this podcast, worth a listen. Great to hear Chris talking about understanding stuff and learning. Yes, Rich, I agree. Morris says, learning is a good habit to build time for. Start small.
10 minutes a day. If you do something different every day, you will be 365 times better by the time we get to this point next year. It doesn't have to be massive. Like I said, one chapter of a book a day, that's enough to get you going. Start to build a habit, start to enjoy it, and then start to expand the time you commit to it.
Say that again. The 1% thing. Say that again.
If you do one thing different today and you improve by one bit today, do one thing different, do something different. 365 days from now, you're 365 times better than you are today.
That's brilliant. Rob says, Chris's contagious enthusiasm and today's advice is relevant no matter your age or stage of career. Awesome. Couldn't agree more. You have another fan here, Def Spencer, who we love. And we had a great session with Spencer, didn't we?
Yes, it was brilliant. Honestly, Spencer, that was the highlight of my week that week, 100%.
Love it. I have 3 questions to ask Chris. What is the worst, most annoying catchphrase? What's the most useless word? And who would win in a fight between Superman and Batman?
What was the worst, most annoying catchphrase? Nice to see you tonight. To see you nice. That used to annoy us. And rest in peace, Brucey. But however, the most useless word, can't.
Oh, the one that you couldn't say earlier.
Yes. The most useless word is can't. I just don't like it. And who could win a fight between Superman and Batman? Superman, because he's a proper alien. Batman's just a man with a utility belt.
No. Pete says GCSEs are a framework defined by central government and regulators and all too often focused on theoretical capability without any real-world application. Also damages the mental health of a significant proportion of kids taking them. Bang on with the need to teach people how to be curious and build a development mindset. I'm with you both on this. We could have a whole session just on this. You've got kids at a wonderful time in their life where they could just get so inspired about learning, and we shove them into these lanes. It's ridiculous.
Annoys me. I have a daughter going through GCSE year, so I'm really on edge about it at the minute because it just annoys me.
I think we all agree with Morris here. Great insight, Chris. Danny says, Spencer Collins, exponential fine, such a banal word. Batman. Have you not seen the documentary Batman versus Superman? Richard says, the best teams and organizations I've worked with build openness and trust that encourage sharing of personal learning within and across teams. Yeah, I love it.
I was speaking to someone not long ago, and they, in their team meetings, they have a really open question around, what have you learned this week? Now, there's no agenda to that, so it's not around going away and they must have done something. But people will come and they'll talk around what they've learned. Now, that could be they've learned from a mistake. It could be that they've learned from where something's gone wrong, or it's not gone to plan, or whatever it might be. But that's how they start every meeting. What have you learned this week? And then they talk around it and they share that learning with each other. And that builds that then. That failure's fine because we take the learning from it. We start to go, you know, if that's how we start every team meeting, I'm more aware of what's happening each week or month around those learning opportunities to be able to pull out the learning from it. So it's a great way to be, and it's a great starting point for leaders to build that into their meeting cadence for sure.
Love it. And I think our industry is, you mentioned something in the GOWX bit around, it's our role as leaders to take off the lid that people have been enclosed in. And I think every single one of us will have multiple stories or a story about someone that came into the contact center. I can remember one in particular. He, by his own admission, was practically illiterate. School just hadn't done it for him. And he came every time we tried to give him extra responsibility because he was so enthusiastic. He said, I'm the wrong person for this. Because I'm not very good at reading and writing. I'm not very good at maths. I'm not very good at these things. And we had belief in him as a leadership group around him, but he didn't have it himself because he'd been kept down that whole time. Now, once we gave him the platform and the confidence to just try things and fail and be supported while he did, now, I mean, this was 10, 15 years ago. Now he's head of a contact center. And it fills me full of joy just to see that our industry has done that. And there's countless stories like that. Dan says, great topic, Chris. Thanks for sharing. If you drive to work, try driving home a different route every day if you can. It really works in terms of focusing your mind on something new or just different. And then we have Mark says, observe, absorb, improve. Oh, I like that. That's great. Chris, thank you so much. I think you've galvanized us and infused us into being okay with trying something new and learning it. Much to your joy, I've been sharing my gym stuff. You love it. I know you do.
Show off.
But that is involved being new and making mistakes on exercises, machines. I've been writing everything down in a book that I wander around the gym with, and I've loved it. I've loved not knowing how to do something. So, Chris, thank you for inspiring us all this Tuesday morning. The video crashed the internet for me, but I think that's because it just couldn't take your awesomeness.
My beautiful face bouncing around the screen. That's what it was.
And we also have love such stories. Great community here, Martin. Thank you. And hi, Chris. You have your whole fan base is here, Chris. Thank you so much for doing this. It's been genuinely inspiring. You're a lovely human being who knows his stuff. Thanks, Chris. And Martin says, Mark, fantastic TED-like session. Really enjoyed and lots to think about. Brilliant. Thank you, Scott. Brilliant session, Chris. I love your energy and good to see you again from Duncan. Lovely chat.
Hope the new job's going well.
I spoke to Dunk yesterday. Great man. Very good footballer. Cheers, gents, says Alan. Thank you, guys. Great session, says Tracy. Love it. I look forward to seeing more from you. That's a request, surely, for the naked version.
I've got my vest on.
Video crash the GOWX star. Oh, Danny, that's perfect. Thanks, Chris and Martin. So pleased you both kept your clothes on.
Liar. Liar. Liar, Marju. You're a liar.
And on that bombshell, everybody, bye-bye, and thank you, Chris.
Thanks, everybody.